That's a wonderful example of what an event planner is able to bring to the planning and to the madness of it all. A really good event planner is able to creatively see what most of us don't see.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Wedding Ceremony Podcast. We talk about anything and everything that has to do with wedding ceremonies. My name is Clint Houghton. With me is the gentleman that, here he is, the one and only JP Reynolds.
Clint, to you and to all of our folks who regularly listen and even irregularly listen, Happy New Year.
And a happy new year to you. That's right. We took the holidays off. So this is the first one for 2026. You should all know, if you're joining us for the first time, that JP is an accomplished author. Books about wedding ceremonies, how to do them and how to prepare for them. And they're all amazing. And they are in the Amazon store and in the Kindle store in Amazon. Plus, he is a communications expert. Thebusinessofconfidence.com is that website. His wedding website is jprweddings.com. My website is just my name. It's Clint Huff, CLINTHUFFT.com for all of the things that I do. Every now and then, I learn how important an event planner can be, and it always comes out of left field. Even somebody that, in my opinion, is highly respected and always does phenomenal work, some little thing will pop up and I'll think, how did you think of that? For example, I did a wedding a couple of weeks ago and it was at a 5-star hotel, the Beverly Hills Hotel. Rain came. And so they knew rain was coming. So they had 5 days to figure out, how are we going to do it indoors? Now, the thing that was interesting about this particular wedding ceremony is that they invited a bunch of people and it was all about this couple getting married. However, they told everybody that they were just going to do a civil ceremony and then they were just going to have a reception. So that was the story that the guests were told. And when they showed up, everybody was obviously dressed really nice for a wedding reception. The surprise was we were going to have a ceremony. Yes, exactly. And they were going to have a ceremony. So they would arrive for cocktails and that sort of stuff. They sectioned off the big ballroom so that there was this one section that was all draped, completely secluded. And then they set that up for the ceremony. And so the guests were going to be invited into this other room. We had the ceremony. I'll get to how the room was decorated because it was phenomenal. I never experienced that before. But here's the thing. The couple wrote personal vows to each other. And of course, they sent them to me and I had them printed out. I always do that as a backup or whatever. But the event planner, who has been a guest in our podcast, Charley King from Bluebell Events, she's phenomenal. When I show up, I always check everything and get the license. And here are their vows. She hands me these two. They weren't booklets that you've seen where you can buy them from some kind of a stationery store and it says vows across the front. No. Imagine an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper folded in half. That was the size. It had the logo of the Beverly Hills Hotel embossed on the front cover. And then she had printed out the vows and pasted them inside. I've never seen anything like this in terms of a cover for personal vows. Did you have this done? Where did this come from? It's beautiful. She said, we did a tasting here, and that's how they present the tasting menu. So she asked for a couple of extra ones, and then she made them personal vows. The thing that I love about it is that the presentation was spectacular because, like I said, it had the logo of the hotel embossed on this cover. And then inside were the vows that she had typed up and pasted in there. A couple of things I love about this. Number one was the creativity to say, oh, look at that. Give me a couple of those because I have another use for those that will go into the stuff that the couple keeps for the rest of their lives. And how elegant is that? Other thing that I really liked about it is that she printed out the vows and put them in this special presentation, as opposed to the booklet that anybody can buy, the little book. The couple will then handwrite their vows. I don't know about you. I can't always read my own writing. I'm sure you've had couples that get that vow and they look at it and it's like hieroglyphics. That's why when I meet with a couple before, we always get there an hour early and I meet with a couple, I say, I have your vows. Do you want to see them? Because I want them to hold it and touch it and look at it and be familiar with it, as opposed to getting all of that first look in the middle of the ceremony. Does that all make sense?
Yes, it does, Clint.
Thank you, JP.
And I guess we're done. But that's a wonderful example of what an event planner is able to bring to the planning and to the madness of it all. A really good event planner is able to creatively see what most of us don't see. in that moment, there's a tasting. Everybody simply sees a piece of paper, some cardboard, and she's looking. And because she is so good at what she does, because she is a creative, she's looking and saying, "Ah, that's what creativity is all about." I will admit, when the vows are typed out and then inserted into some kind of a booklet, or there is that sense of, okay, they'll be able to read it. I am a traditionalist. Oh, when you're old and wearing trifocals, you will want to have that handwriting. You may not be able to read it when you're 80, but it's like, so I am a traditionalist. I like the handwritten gibberish or whatever, whether it's typed or not, because it's such an emotional moment. A lot of times I will have couples with the vows. What they'll do is type it up, cut it up, paste it into a little booklet or whatever. But even when it's typed, they're so emotional, they're like choking on the words. So, but yeah, yeah, that's lovely. Yeah. I am curious, just backtracking a bit. The reason they wanted to surprise their guests with the ceremony was,
I have no idea. That was just the storyline that was laid out for me. I got there early. I'm in the ceremony site. The doors are open, but nobody's invited in because, it's so early. And I'm talking to the event planner, Charlie, and we're standing kind of in the doorway, and guests are starting to arrive, and they're collecting in the waiting area of the lobby of the hotel, but they have direct eyesight to us, and they can see that this is where cocktails and hors d'oeuvres are going to be.
yeah.
And all of a sudden, it occurred to me, I'm supposed to be a surprise. The idea is that when they go into this separate room where the ceremony is going to be, at the front, the groom and I are going to be standing. And that's when the aha moment happens, like, oh, this is going to be a ceremony.
Mm.
Well, I'm standing there with Charlie, and all of a sudden I thought, I'm wearing a black suit with a black tie. That's what I always wear unless they request something different. And I said to Charlie, I said, I think I need to leave because I'm really obvious. I'm holding my folder thing where the ceremony is inside. I look like the officiant guy. And
Mm.
as far as they know, that wasn't happening. You know what I mean? But I thought I need to go away because it's pretty obvious who I am. And Charlie said, oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. We actually went through a back door, the groom and I, in order to get to the front, so that when the doors open for the guests to enter the ceremony area, they would have not known that that's where we were as part of the surprise. Now, the other thing is that the bride decided what the setup of the ceremony was going to be in regards to the seating for the guests. They brought in love seats
Mm.
and chairs, like living room chairs, and it wasn't chairs per se.
Mm.
It was
Right.
all like little couches and things like that
Oh, I love that.
with a center aisle. I mean, the whole where everybody sat, there was only a few loose chairs, for specific reasons. It
And
was
how
I'd
many,
never seen anything like that. It was beautiful.
yeah, how many guests?
I would say around 60 to 70, somewhere in that
Oh,
ballpark.
lovely. So you can really pull that off with the furniture. Yeah, yeah.
Well, plus it fit the motif because when I said it was draped, we've been in ballrooms where there's just a single white curtain that's kind of like a cross. That to me is not draping. This was like a movie set. It was real thick, and there were extra, what do they call that, where you do like a swooping thing with the fabric? It's layered on top of each other. And then there was something across the ceiling. Oh, there was a huge chandelier, and it was just in a different world. We were in a different world. And I thought of you because the concept of who was going to hold the rings came up, and the bride said, well, my nephew, I think, is going to hold the rings. Now, Charlie told me this as we were walking to the bridal suite to meet with the couple. I said, how old's the nephew? She says, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7. I had already gotten the rings from Charlie. I have the rings in my possession now. And in my head, I'm thinking, this kid better be up to snuff or he's not touching these rings. When I got to the bride, I said, how old is your nephew? She said 4. I said, no, we should not give him the rings.
That's
Well, yeah. She said, well, he's really shy. I'm not even sure we'd ever get the rings from him. During the ceremony, it was, okay, bring the rings forward. And he would like hide and shy and not want to get up in front of everybody. I said, okay, there is that, but that's not the primary reason. The primary reason is if a 4-year-old drops the rings, that right there is going to be 20 years of therapy for that kid because kids think that everything is their fault. And of course, everyone's going to say, oh, you dropped the rings, so
well,
to
it is his fault. It is his fault. He should spend the rest of his life lamenting the mistake he made. How he ruined all right, his aunt's wedding. Yes. Yes. He'll think it's his fault. No, it is his fault. Yes. You didn't take lessons. You were asked to go to a coach, but you refused. You threw a tantrum. Yeah.
Hey, Billy, come meet your special uncle JP. He's going to talk to you for a while.
He's your personal life coach.
To the 4-year-old. Oh my gosh. And then when the kid got up there and he was like squirming around in the front row and that kind of stuff, while people were still coming in, I kind of leaned over to the groom and I said, we made the right decision with the rings. It was just obvious. The kid, he wouldn't have been able to handle that.
Well, that's delightful.
And it was one of those things where nobody was going to escort the bride into the room, down the aisle, so to speak. So they had already figured out that he would go and meet her halfway and then escort her the rest of the way, which I love. I think that's so romantic.
I love that too. Yeah.
But the timing of it, I thought it was really important. She had been told that she would walk halfway and then wait for him to come down and get her. And I thought it'd be better if they met at the same time. I said, when she gets to the last row, I'm going to tell you to go. And then that way the two of you will meet in the middle of the aisle and then you'll be able to escort her up for her. And then I always say, and then from that point on, don't worry about a thing. I'll take care of you. I'll make sure you're where you're supposed to be for the photographer. Don't worry about it.
This is actually interesting because this now speaks to one of my last weddings from last year, where the bride, small, intimate wedding, approximately the same size, that's 60, 70 people for the ceremony. Bride was in early 40s. Both bride and groom had previously been married. Each had been divorced for a number of years. They've been together for a while. The bride wanted to walk down the aisle by herself. Given age, given story, given background, it certainly didn't strike me as odd or unique or unusual or whatever. The bride's mother is deceased. She was raised by a stepmother who was essentially her mother.
Right.
This woman was really hurt that the bride would not want her father, who in many respects was the single parent to help raise her in the beginning of her life.
Right.
Just felt it was a terrible insult to the father. You know, it was not psychodrama because the hurt was genuine. And it was, no, why would you do this to your father? Why would you insult your father? Why would you not want to be walking down the aisle by your father? Because for her, it was this sense of tradition. I know, I will say, without revealing who these people are, I know the family. I know the players. I was taken by surprise. I had not expected this. And again, I want to emphasize that it was not drama for the sake of drama. It was just a real deep sense of confusion. No, your father was there for you at a time of great upheaval and pain. And no, he has to walk you down the aisle. And I was brought into it because I know the family. And I didn't realize the depth of how this was an issue. And so I was a little, not cavalier, but podcast JP, where it's like, oh, well, you know, it's like, da, da, da. And I was just giving a PowerPoint presentation on options for walking down the aisle. It was just not accepted. I was put in my place. You just don't understand. Eventually, the bride did invite her father to walk her down the aisle. And it was lovely. But the reason why I'm sharing this is because I love the scenario that you described with your couple. Visually speaks to reality, as we know so well. A wedding has many layers of reality to it.
It brings to light our role as an officiant. Sometimes we feel like we're supposed to have all the answers, but the reality is we don't have all the answers. And sometimes the best thing to do is to just be quiet and kind of let things play out and see what the dynamics are with the people that are directly involved. I know people defer to us because we're clergy. Well, what do you think? Well, what do you think? I even had a mother insist that I attend the rehearsal because I'm supposed to tell everybody what to do, which, you know, that's not the way I work. Some people think that I've already told the story of that wedding and how she was changing things on the fly, and it was actually a lot of fun for me. But I think what you're talking about, because I do remember the episode when you first told us the story of how the bride wasn't going to have her father walk her up the aisle and how the mother was really concerned, really upset. I asked you the question, well, what about the father? What does he think? And you said he doesn't care. So then we kind of had that story. But now hearing you as you've had more time to absorb the emotional content of the people that are involved, it's very poignant. And I think for all officiants, it kind of says you don't have to have all the answers. And quite honestly, walking in fresh, you don't have all the answers. You'd be best served to just be quiet and be a sounding board and learn and see what all of the intricacies and nuances of this situation are so that you don't muddy the waters.
Right. I had this experience. It's one thing to have this experience and I don't know any of the players. I've had that in the past. And it's like, okay, I don't know any of these players. It gives me a certain amount of, I can look at the guidebook as to how to deal with people you don't know and how do you conduct yourself and all that sort of thing. But what threw me here was these are people that I've known. I never had a hint that there was such an adherence to ritual and symbolism. And it was like, really? How many times we were at Starbucks and you have never told me about your belief regarding how a bride should walk down the aisle? It's like, again, we hold hands, all of us, and we have a moment of Zen and remember that when it's planning a wedding, people, people. I thought because this stepmother is an award-winning educator. I have seen her in the classroom stand in front of a PowerPoint screen and just bam. And then to listen to her go on about, well, no, he has to walk her down the aisle or otherwise she'll be deported. I mean, it's I bow before the mystery of it all.
There was a situation a long time ago where the couple, he was Jewish from England, and she was not Jewish, Christian, I think, and grew up in Southern California. And they got married in the South Bay on the beach, but his mom flew all the way over from England to see her son's wedding. The question was how much tradition or what's going to go into the ceremony.
Look at my arms. Look at my arms. I'm just sitting here. Yes.
And the couple, they decided that it was going to be kind of a non-denominational thing, and they didn't really expect to incorporate a lot of the Jewish traditions into their family with kids moving forward and that sort of thing. I said, well, you could just step on the glass. I said, that doesn't get in the way of anything. And that's really simple, and it kind of honors your heritage, and it's not that big of a deal. You could do that if you want to at the end of the ceremony. And the bride thought, yeah, okay, we could do that. Well, here's the part. I'm curious when you answer the question I'm about to give you. We did the ceremony. Then at the very last thing, I explained we're about to honor a tradition, and he's going to step on the glass, and you all yell Mazel Tov. The groom steps on the glass. I look at his mom in the front row, and she is beaming. She's so happy that he honored his heritage just by that one simple ritual. And so I was curious if you had a chance to look at your friend, the mother of the bride, when the bride and her father were walking up the aisle, if you had a chance to look at her face and what she felt about all of that.
Oh, hello. It was an overcast day, except for the first row in the second seat, where it was a beaming spotlight.
Oh, that's so good. I like that.
It is. It's just fascinating. And that is why, Clint, I love the opportunity to talk about all of this with you twice a month.
I've told people many times about the origins of this podcast and how we had met for many times and told stories to each other. And I said, you said we should do a podcast. And I thought your timing is perfect because, yeah, I'm ready for a podcast. For 10 years, we've recorded, people don't understand 10 years, but they do understand how many episodes. And this is going to be something along the lines of episode number 360. We never run out of things to talk about because we're in the thick of it. And that is the wonderful world of weddings from our perspective in regards to the ceremony and that sort of thing.
For our next conversation, and say that I would be curious for us to address the issue of, now that we have spoken publicly on 360 occasions, what are the changes you and I have seen from ceremony number 1 to ceremony 361, 362, whatever? I'm curious to because I have noticed changes, and I'll be interested to hear what you've noticed in terms of changes.
Yeah, I'm excited about that conversation. That'll be in the next episode. There's a lot of things, in my opinion. Some big, some no big deal. When you exchange notes on that, it's going to be pretty
Good.
interesting. All right,
Good.
JP, tell everybody how they get in touch with you.
Website is jprweddings.com. You can email me from that website. It's all the information is there, just jprweddings.com.
Perfect. My website is my name, Clint Huff, CLINTHUFFT.com for all the things that I do. Please understand, JP has his books in the Amazon store and in the Kindle store in Amazon. He is a communications expert. TheBusinessOfConfidence.com is that website. And if you want to reach out to us, I highly encourage it. You can do through either one of our websites. And if you have a topic that you want us to discuss, then please, or just want to leave a comment. We really like those. You can also leave comments in the YouTube channel that we post this up. That's it for this episode of the Wedding Ceremony Podcast. This is Clint, and on behalf of JP, we will see you next time.